We have returned um, for another string. I'm gonna jump right in today because I don't know how much time I have, so I want to get going. I wanted to. I usually don't make notes, but I made notes today because there's a couple things I want to make sure I bring in. I will take questions after about the 20-minute mark. So if you have a question, you can leave it. If not, then we'll just keep going. We'll keep going with what we have. Okay. Are we following the path of least resistance? And what exactly does that mean? Because there is a misconception that means the easiest path. And I'm not so sure it does mean the easiest path. So actually, I was watching a show about witches, and it was one of the things they said was just magic follows the path of least resistance. And I was like, that's interesting. Let's think about that for a bit. Does magic follow the path of least resistance? And what does that actually mean for us? What is the path of least resistance? So once we start on our journey, you're going to find that there's going to be so many realities we get kind of thrown into that are not what we thought they were going to be. They're not what we wanted them to be. We don't know why we're here. And because the path of least resistance in higher consciousness is not the easiest path for our ego to follow. And that is the misconception. We have this saying that the path of least resistance means it's no resistance from our human ego. And it's the opposite of that. It's going to be the most resistance for your human ego to go through because it doesn't want to go there. It's the easiest way for you to get to where your soul needs to go, but it's not the path you want to go on because our human ego is going to resist anything that's going to clear the human ego, which is what ascension is. You're transcending it, you're minimizing it in a sense. It doesn't actually go anywhere. It's just not the main. It loses its hold. It's not the main one in control anymore. When we go through these iterations of ascension and different realities, we also have this misconception that our ego goes away. And it's not there anymore. Our ego doesn't exactly go anywhere. It's still there. It's just not as predominant in a sense of making all our decisions for us. It doesn't make our decisions for us. It's there. We'll hear it. It just becomes the unconscious part of our soul. It's the smaller part in the sense of our soul. It's not the part that is in control anymore. So a lot of people will think that it goes somewhere, or all of a sudden you never hear it again. You can be far down your ascension road as you want to go, and you're still going to have your ego there. You're still going to feel it. You're going to be like, oh wait, I hear that, I feel that. I can still kind of hear my ego coming in there. So as we start trying to maneuver down our ascension path, we're going to be guided in certain dimensions and guided into certain realities, whether we want to go or not. Now, one of the questions I'll get asked all the time is, how do I know if this is the way I'm supposed to go? If your human doesn't want to go, it's probably the way we're supposed to go. And if there's no other option that's presenting itself, a lot of us will have a reality close out and we'll wait for the next one. Because a lot of times we don't get the next one until we actively close out the one we have because it's two separate frequencies. Our human's going to want one to come in, and while we stay settled in this one we have here. We're all nested and snuggled in here, and we want a new one to come in, and then when the new one is here, then we will button this one up and leave, right? We want to make sure we got something ready on deck. We don't want to be out there jumping off into the waters where there's no boat. We can't see the boat. We want the next dinghy lined up for us to get on and go. We don't care if it's small. We just want to see something. And we don't. We don't until we close out the old one, whether that means we're terminating a lease, we're selling a house, or breaking up with someone, we're starting to put feelers out, we're going to move to a new spot, we're starting to make those energetic decisions. And those energetic decisions have to be backed up with some action. We can say, oh yeah, I'm ready. But the energetic part of it is to get us to the let's do something. I can say all day, oh yeah, I'm ready for the new reality. Oh yeah, I'm ready for this. Oh yeah, bring that on. Let's do it. but I'm not physically doing anything to bring anything forth. I'm not physically moving anything. I'm just sitting here saying, yeah, I'm ready. So just bring it to me. And it doesn't work that way. And it doesn't work that way because you're talking about two separate dimensions, or you're talking about two separate frequencies within the same dimension, and they can't exist together. So you won't know. Now, in our human realities, we did. We saw this, and we waited for this. We waited for that next job to come in before we quit our other one. We waited for that next partner to come in before we broke up with the one we were with. We waited for that next friend to come in, or friend group to come in, and then we cut our ties with the old friend group. As humans, we were famous for it. We waited and waited and waited until the next thing was here. And by doing that, what we honestly did was kind of continue to be in the same frequency with the same stuff, even if we changed the setting. It was still very similar because we didn't really change anything. We didn't really make any big strides. It was the same thing. It just came in a little different package. Still working through the same energetic stuff. But as a human, we were able to do that because our frequency didn't change that much. And it would look semi-different, a little different. New people, new job, new whatever. And it felt different and for a while, But then we'd realize it was kind of the same stuff. We were just going to play it out again and continue to clear the program to get to maybe the bigger swings later on. Very few of us would kind of jump. There are some people in their human consciousness that have more of that way, that they would jump no matter what, I still don't feel like that was really to me, that's really still not from a higher consciousness place. It's more of a reckless place, I guess. We would look at it as humans like that. And sometimes people would do it to kind of run from what they had. So it was a more conscious act. I'm just going to move on. I don't care what's next. But we really didn't resolve what we had going to begin with, So it's kind of two sides to me of the same coin in our human consciousness when we would do that. It was kind of like, I don't really want to finish it here. I'm just going to go. I don't want to finish it in a good place. I don't want to say, okay, yeah, this is exactly how I wanted it to be. This is how I wanted to end it. Now this is resolved. We get this. As humans, we feel like to resolve something, it has to be all buttoned up. Everyone has to be happy. In the resolution, no one's upset about it. Everyone's happy. It's a big love fest, and everyone's happy about how this thing got resolved. When I say resolving it, it's energetically resolved. That doesn't mean everyone's happy with how it ended. It doesn't mean you're going to leave a situation, a job, people, and everyone's going to be super happy with how the whole thing played out. But we're resolved with why we had to go through it. We've resolved to have no story around it. We have ended it in the best place we can end this with right now. And we know that. And we're leaving it better than we got there, whether people realize that or not. And someone in their human consciousness might not be able to see that you're leaving something better than when you got there. Because if it's any more chaotic for them, they're not going to see it like that. It doesn't mean everyone's in agreement and everyone's happy with the ending. Resolving it doesn't mean it's a happy human ending for everybody. It's just resolved. There's no story around it. There's nothing we're going to carry forward. It's done. Now we're going to move on and we're going to go to the next reality, but we're not carrying any of this stuff energetically with us. We've resolved why we were there. We've resolved what we played in the reality. We've honestly communicated us leaving the reality, why we're leaving the reality, or if it's just a reality that ended, we're okay to walk away from it. Not every reality we've got to say, hey, okay, I'm going to end this now. We're going to close this up. Some will just end. But we can hold on to them because we don't want them to end. We will kind of stay there with them for a while. We will kind of try to continue to, pull them back so we don't have to let them go. Or we just aren't ready to take the next step because we don't see the next thing yet. So it really, to me, doesn't matter which side of the coin we are, whether we were the jumpers, or to me, it's like the runners, whether we were the runners and we would just run away because we didn't want to have to deal with it. Or we were the waiters and we would just wait that thing out until the fucking thing just corroded down around us, but we just didn't want to leave because we didn't know what the next thing was yet. we still kept ending up in the same loops. Nothing really shifted that much because we weren't shifting. We were either running or we were waiting it out to wait for the next thing. And it was such an incremental shift in our energy, in our frequency, that it wasn't going to make a major change. Every 7 to 10 years, you might have seen major changes in your life. And that's how the human realities would go. Some people were on a 12-year cycle, some people were on a 22-year cycle. Every so many years, you'd see this big shift because you made a big enough shift to really incrementally move up, frequency-wise, and still within the same dimension, but the consciousness was a little bit higher to really make a bigger shift. But for humans, those followed a lot of the cycles that we have the same cycles in higher consciousness, but they're just cycles. We're just following a cycle. It took us that long. It was that long for us to get there. It's a different feeling to it. It feels like we really did a milestone here because in a sense we did, but it just took a lot longer to get there. And as our human consciousness starts to kind of take the back seat to our higher consciousness, we start to have more agency, might be a better word. We start taking more in charge of what we're doing. We look at it and we go, okay, this reality, I know I can't have one come in while I'm sitting here, because we do those enough to realize that's not going to happen. I got to end this and move on. I got to take the steps to end it. I got to take the steps to get out there. I got to take the steps, whatever the steps are for you, you got to take the step. We can say we're ready all day, but unless someone's taking the step, we're not going anywhere. And then we start to see things start to open. But it's probably not the way your human wants to go. And that's going to be the least resistance for the bigger picture. It's the least resistance. It's the quickest way to work through your stuff. It is more of the... Oh, I had the word and I lost the word. It's almost like you're just supercharging your reality. That's not the word I wanted, but that's what I'm going to go with. You are going through it the fastest way to clear what you need to clear to get to the other realities, right? It's not going to be the least resistance for your soul, but it is the least resistance. And it's funny because in the witch movie I was watching, it was not they were summoning a witch and magic would summon the closest witch. This is the one you're going to get. We're not going to hand pick. We're going to give you this one because she's the closest one. And it can be very similar. This is probably not the one we wanted. It's not the one we would have picked. But this is the one that's going to help us work through everything we need to work through. This is the one we need. Our soul requires this one to get to the next place the quickest way. If not, we're just going to bumble around over here and going through these human realities and being twisted and turned. But we're really not going to get anywhere because there's nowhere to really get to over here. We'll go up a little bit. It might seem easier to go this way. It's usually, for what the human is going to be seeming easier, it's the path of less judgment by other people. That's what seeming easier is. It's the path of at least resistance for what other people are going to say to you and what they're going to think of you. We're very much controlled in our human realities by external forces, whether it be people, whether it be money, whether it be any of these things that we think define us, that we think make us who we are. We tend to follow through and follow down those paths. Those are the paths we want to go down. These are the ones we want to look at because we feel like these are the paths that are going to get us what we need. Because we're not going to get judged for going down any of these paths. We're not going to get judged for doing the things that some collective within the human consciousness is going to accept. It might not be accepted by everyone in human consciousness. You can look at all the politics and how one side is one way, one side is the other way, to just kind of go very human for a minute and diversify it off and polarize it. Each one is accepted by one group or the other within the human consciousness. Doesn't mean you're going to be accepted by everyone in the human consciousness. That's not how that works. But there's going to be a group within that consciousness that's going to accept, a group within the human collective that's going to accept you. And when we start going down different roads, you're going to find in your human journey, you were you linked up to certain collectives, and the overall collective is going to be human kindness in general, your humanness, your ego. It's all connected and weaved in, but you have all these branching sectors within it. And you would go to one group or the other. You can go to social classes. You can go to, race, sexuality. I mean, there's so many different collectives. We would kind of, if you did it like a diagram, you're attached to so many different collectives. Someone would accept you, but when you start making decisions for ascension, none of those groups are going to accept you, because it's also polar opposite of the core beliefs of humanity. Maybe humanity is not the word I want to use there, but what we thought was humanity. We don't really realize what true humanity is until we lose our humanness to really get to humanity. But what we think our human beliefs are, what we think the structures are, even the people who thought they were on the fringe of not acting like, not doing societal norms, was still in some way connected to a group of humans that agreed with them. Even people who were convicted of serial killers had people writing them in prison, to be an extreme example, but you're going to get where I'm going with it. Someone was going to accept you. But when you start going through ascension, you will be surprised how you are kind of on a ship by yourself, because you're going against all of human kind in a sense. You're betraying all of the oaths of the experiment of humankind, of what we've set up, what we thought. And the basis of humankind is we're first. And we put humans and our ego is going to always put ourselves first to get what we want. And there are some people who say, no, I always put myself last, but you're still trying to get something out of that, whether it be acceptance, whether it be martyr. There's a story there. You're not truly putting yourself last because you want something out of it. We're not, our human shows up to do nothing selflessly. It doesn't even know how to do anything selflessly. It doesn't even have that programming. It all has a reason in there. There's a deeper reason it's doing it, okay? It's not just, I'm going to show up just for everybody else and not me. There's another thing going on in there. It always is when we're talking about our human. Our ego, our human. There's no selflessness there, right? Is that old commercial, I don't know if it was that old, where the guy would do the interviews and the guy would say, hey, there's no I in team, and the guy would say, well, there's no we either. And that's just kind of how human consciousness is, right? So as we move out of that, and as we start going down our ascension paths, they look so different, and we are going to resist them a lot. So the path of least resistance is going to be from our soul's perspective, like this is the best way for you to go. It's the quickest way for you to go. It might feel like I'm zigzagging, but these are vibrational realities. So you go this way, you're going to end up where you need to be. But it just doesn't feel like it, because it's going to be the one that's going to make us work through all of our shit, all of our programming. It's going to go rotor-rooter into what's going on within us. So it's not going to be the path of least resistance for our humanness. Okay, our human does not want to go that way. So when you start looking at realities and looking at the ones that are coming in, don't get so caught up on, I don't want to do that. I'm resistant to that one. So that must not be the right one. Because you see this phrase twisted so much that, no, it's not going to be easy. It's easy because it's the natural flow of where you're supposed to go. It's not going to be easy for us to work through what can come up while we're there. And that's the essence, really, of our whole awakening and our ascension process. It's bringing up all this stuff so we can get to that peace and that joy and that bliss inside, and bring in more of our soul and our soul aspects and our galactic aspects. And all of those things that we're trying to get to transform and be more than, and have our human be a small part of us. But it's not the part of us that rules, and it's not the part of us that dictates the reality anymore. When I was talking a few minutes ago about, there's always going to be someone in the human reality that will accept you when you're in your human consciousness. No matter how off the wall it might seem, there's always going to be somebody. because there's so many distortions that play out. There's so many corruption, manipulation in human realities. You're always going to find people that are going to be like, yeah, I'm okay with that. Whatever you just did, I'm okay with it. Come and sit next to me. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Now, when you go into your ascended realities, it's different. It does flip-flop because we do have a much higher standard of what what you will accept in your reality. It doesn't mean you don't have compassion for people still in their human programming, because you understand that's what it is. It's just their human programming. It's not personal. It's not. There's nothing to really judge there for us, but we have to work our way to that. You just don't come into your ascension process and go, oh, I accept everyone and their humanness and I don't judge anybody. No, we judge everybody. We judge ourselves the most. As we move through it, we work through that stuff. That's what ascension is. It's working through all of that stuff. So you're going to be put in situations where you're going to be working through your stuff. And resolving those realities is seeing, what am I working through? Why am I here? It's not just, okay, I don't want to be here, let me jettison out. And that becomes harder and harder to do the more you go through your ascended realities, because you're held to a higher standard. Our human consciousness is held to very low standards. The bar is on the ground for our human consciousness. It's not held to high standards. It's held to very low standards. No matter what we do, like I said, there's someone who's going to say it's fine and we'll keep it moving. It doesn't matter. But when we go through our ascended reality, our standards increase. Things that you used to be able to walk right by and not pay any attention to, you have to step into that reality, whether it's just picking up trash or it doesn't matter how it starts for you. But you're going to notice there's things you used to be able to just go right by, and things that used to, whether you didn't even notice them or you didn't even think about it, because the 5 people that just walked by you didn't do anything. So why would you do something? They didn't, and human consciousness is very much hive mind group thing. It's what it is. So if they didn't do anything, I'm going to keep walking too. I'm not going to pay any attention to that person who's, asking for money on the side of the road, or it doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter what the small changes are going to be for you in the beginning, but you're going to notice them. You're going to notice all of a sudden that's not okay. And it's not okay for me to walk right by that. It's not okay for me to just see all this trash and not just bend over and pick that trash up while I'm walking into the store. Or look at all these carts. For me, it was a lot of little things. But I used to, just shopping carts would drive me mad. They were just all over the place. People would leave them everywhere. And I would just spend like 20 minutes when I either be leaving the store or going in the store, just putting the shopping carts back up. Because I'm like, my gosh, it's a mess out here. So there'd be little things we do and little ways we contribute. And then the little things get bigger because our bandwidth increases. I just did a video on YouTube with other ascension people who were going through ascension. And we all talked about bandwidth increasing. So I do implore you to check that out. It was a really fun conversation. And we're able to do more, and we're able to see more and go beyond just the little, or what we would view as the little things. But really, in ascension, we realize there are no little. The little things are the big things. The big things are not the little things. They don't matter. What you do for a living really so much doesn't matter, but the little things matter more, because it's that connection. We actually make connections with people, and that's why you find your realities get so much smaller, because you want to connect with the people that are in your realities. It's not just this fakeness of having all these friends, or fakeness of all this other stuff. It's actually getting to know the people. It's caring about the people. It's not just lip service for who's in your reality. It's being in a community with those people and really contributing to that reality with whoever you're sharing your realities with. So don't get confused on how easy it should be. Because it is going to be easy if we can get out of our own way. And there's a reason we're pointed down that road. It's normally to our human, if you're looking down the road, you're not looking down a yellow brick road that has gold bars on it. That's not the one that you're going to be directed down. You're going to be directed on the one that has the thicket and the high grass and the do not enter sign, and you have the vultures on top of it. And it's going to our human, this is how we're going to see the 2 different paths, or the zillion different paths you'll have in front of us. different realities. You're going to see one that looks great. This one does not look very good. It doesn't look very inviting, but that's the one I got to go down because that's going to help me the most. Get through my stuff the quickest. This way, I'll still go through a lot of stuff. I'll go around the barn 15 times. I'll end up, it might take me 20 years to I'm going to end up in 2 years going down this road. So as we start to choose where the realities we're going in, and 2024 is a big year. 2025 is going to be an even bigger year. Because 2025, this is an 8-year, isn't it? Yeah, this is an 8-year. 2025 is a 9-year. 2026, 10 year. It's going to be a 10-year. And you've seen the collectives move ever since the COVID realities, ever since 2020 started moving the collectives. And now you're seeing the collectives move more. You're seeing a lot of stuff going on in the world. We have a lot of the political stuff going on in the United States. We have a lot of stuff going on all over the world. And you're just seeing what used to be little pockets of one thing would happen at a time. It's a lot of stuff happening at one time. And the collectives need this to push everyone forward. 2020 was more of everyone go inside and sit with yourself. And you can kind of try to distract yourself for a while, but I'm going to make sure you're inside long enough where you can only do distractions for so long. That's why they lasted so long. That's what humanity needed. What started out as, you just be inside for 30 days, 3 years later, and everyone's kind of starting to poke their head out, So it lasted a lot longer because we weren't going to go quickly. We weren't going to let a lot of stuff go. We were going to fight it. We were going to make sure that we stayed the way we were. Because we don't want to change. Our human consciousness doesn't want to do any of that. We just don't. So it took a lot longer to get people to a certain place. And now people have come out of that place, and now everything is going haywire in the world. And you see more people stepping into what feels right for them and what doesn't feel right for them. It might not be the same for you. And the farther you go in ascension, you realize there's really no right or wrong. It doesn't matter. None of these choices really matter in a sense. It's the choices we're making and what we're building and what we're doing. I've talked to some of the people in one of my ascension groups, and we're actually going to do a stream on election day on Instagram. I think we're going to do a live on Instagram. Just for some counter programming for something else. To give other people who don't want to listen to that to go listen to something else, to be part of something else. As humans, we just want to be part of something. And as we go through our ascension process, we don't want to be part of anything. So then trying to once again meld back in and being part of something is not easy to do because we don't want to bring all of our baggage back with it. We don't realize we've lessened our baggage because as we've gone down that really dark road, at least it looked dark to us, because we're looking at it through human glasses with all of our programming, glopped all over it, and it looks pretty horrifying for us to walk down. We kind of been stripped down as we walk through it, and we don't have much left when we come out the other side. We got just a little fanny pack now. We came in with all this luggage and we were leaving with nothing because it just got stripped away. And some of it we just dropped along the way because we couldn't carry it anymore. And we didn't want to keep going through it anymore. And it's not for the faint of heart. And you hear that, that's a catchphrase that we've heard forever. It's not, but ascension is not. And it's not easy. And you're not going crazy. You're not losing your mind. You're losing your grip on your human, the human stuff. It's starting to lose its grip. It doesn't have the same power anymore. It has no power here. It's like that Wizard of Oz when she was talking about the Wicked Witch. You have no power here. Just be gone. You don't have any power here, and you know that. That's what our human consciousness becomes. It's there. We listen to it because it needs to be heard. It's like a child that keeps repeating the same thing to you. Go, okay, yeah, I hear you. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate you telling me that, but I've got it. I understand what I need to do. So when you start looking at different realities and which direction are you pointed down, the one that you don't want to do is 9 times out of 10 the one your soul it's the easiest one. It is the path of least resistance. It's going to go the simplest way, but your human's not going to want it because it's not going to be easy for a human. It's going to feel challenging. It's going to feel rough. It's going to feel all these different ways because we don't want to have to face anything. Our human consciousness is not big on facing anything. So I'm going to check, let me check my chat because I've been going a while. Oh, I have one of the comments. Oh, I love that 33 cats are cute. So cute. Plus you start adopting every stray cat. Oh my God. Tell me about that. I've got 3 outside now. One I can't really get near. One took about a year, and there's another one that's the neighbor's cat who's just come over and decided to live here. Because things bother you. That hungry cat out there, I'm like, I can't stand that. I can't stand the limping cat out there, you know. So I've got so many homeopathic natural remedies I give to the ones that I can't really get near when I'm feeding them in the morning, you know. But it's true, and that's so true, and I'm glad you put that comment in because that was one I missed. I didn't say that, and that's you definitely start to feel more of a tune to nature. You know, you start to feel more. I mean, I feed the deer across the street. I go over there and dump nuts down for the deer, and because you see the purpose in everything, and it's not just the human drive and the human overconsumption. Would you start to see that too? And because we used to do it, you know, because we used to do the same thing all the time. You know, I have so many people in this neighborhood, and there's one person, they have like 5 cars in the driveway. But that's not just that one person. That's human. That just is the nutshell of what the human ego will do. I need all this stuff, you know, so let's pump more oil because I need all this stuff. We don't need all this stuff. We just are trying to we're trying to fill up with something else because we have no connection with ourselves and we have no connection with our soul. So we feel like we need all this stuff. You know, we don't need any of this stuff, technically. Very few things you will find when you start listing what you need. And in Ascension, trust me, you will be stripped down to listing out exactly what do I need here. Let's see, I need a place to live. A car would be nice, but if you drop me in an area where I could walk places, I guess that's not essential, or I could ride a bike, you know. We really get down to what has to be, what really is important. And there's some things that might not have been that important, but all of a sudden they are important. Because when you start taking care of your body more, because you notice all the body changes you have to go through Ascension, those things become more of a priority. And all this other stuff, it just goes by the wayside. You don't care about, you know, the car you drive. You don't even, it would be nice to have a car to get places. In certain places people live, and in other places people don't need cars. The density of where you live starts to bother you. All of a sudden, boy, this is a lot. You know, I don't like all these people, and that's what happened to me. I didn't realize how much that was affecting me until I got pushed down, you know, the really windy, rickety road with all the moss hanging on it and the vultures. How much that bothered me. And I didn't realize how much being around all those people bothered me because I used to live in near Washington, D.C., and I'm like, this is just a lot of people, but you don't see how that affects your filter. You get farther out. A lot of us get called back to the coast. We get called back to the mountains. We get called back to the country to be around more nature and to be away from people. It might not be the way your human wants to go, but you're going to be called there, whether it be to take care of someone that might need assistance. It might just be you have an opportunity to go. Yeah, you know, all of a sudden, you know, these opportunities land in our lap, but we don't really look at them as opportunities because they're not the flashy human opportunities. You know, they're not wrapped in that human bow of externally everything our human would want. But they are opportunities. They are our ascension opportunities, you know, so they have a different flair to them. And like I said, if it's the one you don't want with the person who you never thought you'd ever talk to again, they're showing up with this opportunity, normally that's the one we're like, oh, yeah, okay. That's got to be the one I got to go do because I never thought I'd see that person again. like I said, the people who play the very tertiary roles in your human existence all of a sudden start to play they're the starring roles in your ascension journey. And these are very much the if we put it in terms of story or a movie, these are the third storyline, the C plot line of your human existence all of a sudden is your A plot line. And it becomes so important. So, all right, I think I'm going to end it on that. I thank you for that comment. That was quite perfect. If I don't have any more questions, I'll end that today, and I will see everyone. I should be back next Saturday. It's funny, I was right on time today, and I went into change and get dressed, and I don't know what happened. I just started, I guess I went off in my own world for a little while, and I was like, wait, I got something I gotta go do. What am I doing? I gotta go. It happens sometimes. So, all right. Okay, I'll see everybody next time. Bye.